evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the MAHONING Drive-In Theatre, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
89.3 MAHONING Drive-In Radio, your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast. As you guys know, the only podcast dedicated to the love and revival of our beloved drive-in culture, joined as always by my co-hosts, General Manager Extraordinaire Mark. Say hello, my friend.
Hello!
And owner projectionist extraordinaire at the MAHONING Drive-In Theatre, Jeff. Say hello, my friend.
Good evening, everybody.
So excited as we continue our owner-operator series here on the podcast, which all of you love. We've been getting the amazing feedback. And today, joined by not just the owner, but projectionist as well of the Raleigh Road Outdoor Theatre in Henderson, North Carolina. And they are a year-round operation, which has been running the same length of time as the MAHONING Drive-In Theatre since 1949. So celebrating their diamond anniversary as well. A lot of really fun stuff from flea markets, specialty events, and really excited to talk to guys who were connected with the theater before the digital takeover, which obviously we'll have so much to talk about. Welcome, Mark Frank, owner and operator at the Raleigh Road Outdoor Theatre, and Craig Askew, projectionist. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh. So excited. Let me start by saying there are some theaters that stand out across the landscape, and your guys' screen tower is one of those iconic pieces that really stands out. So having you guys on, being able to represent the history and talk about the love of the drive-in's a real treat.
Thanks again for having us. I actually have some insight to the way that screen currently looks. To my left, the projectionist under previous ownership, as he actually worked here before we bought the theater in 2011, was instrumental in the current design that's been since, well, let him tell the story. Greg?
Well, they wanted it was blue. The screen was blue and ugly and orange.
There's many layers of paint on this.
There was many
Power
layers.
washed it recently, and it will be painted. Yeah.
And we had the idea to do a film strip design on it, and it just popped in my head one day, and I said, well, why don't we can make that work, and we made it work, and it's gone all over the world now. I've seen that image posted in newspapers, especially during COVID, in Tel Aviv and Korea and all that. I've seen our screen tower pop all over the world, so it's kind of cool.
It's a glory shot, and it really is a cell of screen towers of the past. You know, a lot of those enclosed towers feel unique now.
Absolutely agree. It's an icon here locally. Even some of the local restaurants have it, in their restaurants. I know one of my favorites, we go for a breakfast, Biscuitville has it painted on the side of their wall. It's pretty cool.
Interestingly, the bathrooms, but
yeah, right.
Hey, eyes are going to be on it.
And it's on a mural downtown.
Yeah, the mural downtown on the second floor of the library for the history of the town. It's got the 1949 version, I believe.
It's clearly loved, and a staple of the area and an icon really of the culture. 1949. So can you guys give us some deep dive history of the early years of the theater?
Craig actually's got found some through the local or different organizations and the newspapers, some kind of original pictures from the newspapers, different articles when it opened. But we do know that it was July 15th of 1949, and its first feature was Alibaba and the 40 Thieves.
Yes.
To a packed weekend.
It was completely packed.
Yeah, completely packed.
They brought their vegetables for snapping.
Yep. What they did back then, they would watch the movie and kind of get snap their beans or peas?
Snap their beans.
Yeah, beans. Yeah. And just would sit there and do their vegetables while they watched the movie.
Oh my God.
That's neat.
I love that. And being that you guys run the same timeline as us, You're a single screener. You've remained a single screener. So we share that in common as well. Do you guys have any sort of knowledge as far as the expansion of the screen to accommodate CinemaScope in your guys' history? Or were you built with an expanded screen?
It was originally not was it 133 back in the day? Yeah, 133, yeah. And then somewhere in the 50s. I need to certainly research that, but it was added with one pole on each side, actually two poles, one on the ground, one for support. Yeah, and they added, I believe, 10 feet on each side. Yep. So it makes it 40 by 80 viewable right now.
That's beautiful.
That's what our current is.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I spoiled it with it being a single screen. Can you guys give the audience a little bit of a picture as far as your guys' landscape? Are you guys built up around? Are you in like a middle of a neighborhood, middle of a city?
We're on the outskirts of Henderson, the city. City's smaller to barely mid-sized. We recently got a Starbucks. Starbucks and Lowe's are the two biggest things population-wise. I don't know. I think the county has 50,000 total for the county, but the city itself, 20,000, 30,000. I don't the current numbers, but it's certainly not big by any means. We're outside of Henderson limits, but certainly on the main road, so still got some industry next to us. I'm not surprised during this podcast you may hear a train. For authenticity, we're actually underneath the screen. That's our storage underneath there. So when you're looking at the iconic pictures, usually
right now while you guys are recording.
Yeah.
I love it.
First guest to have recorded from inside the screen. This is excellent.
The tower.
I'm saying we are next to about 15 feet of letters. We stack them, of course. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high. I've got some Mahoning would appreciate this. I've got some old 35 millimeter prints.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, maybe 6 or 8 of those.
That's
popcorn
awesome.
machine, 2 popcorn machines that are our spares. So they are. I can touch them right now as we're speaking. So we're sitting at the table. We're a little chilly, but we got the heaters on, and we said, "All right, we're going to do this authentically. We're going to be." So when you're looking at a picture of our theater ever, and the cars are parked in it, and we're about in between the middle cars and the white section there, underneath.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at now. And it's basically when you're looking at the pictures, the viewable part, the film strips are what got added in the 1950s. I don't have the exact dates. And then when you're looking at the outdoor theater, everything underneath that is all storage. It's about 20 by 60 storage.
It's got to come in handy. It's got to really come in handy.
Come in handy, and we have got it full of stuff right now that we just got to get rid of it. 3/4 of it's not anything old. We do have old speakers.
Yeah.
It's a lot of old concession equipment, and then we've got some other restaurant equipment that we could possibly use, and then of course the occasional stuff that just we need to get rid of.
Junk.
Like 1,000 feet of hose, so we can power wash our marquee. Yeah, so we can power wash our marquee, so we link them all together with the power washer because there's no water out by the marquee.
I take it as iconic as the tower is to the area. You guys have the iconic marquee as well by the roadway.
It's been there.
That one's been there
25 years ish. The iconic one many years ago. I guess 25, maybe 30, close to 30. The ticket booth and the marquee have been replaced, and certainly nice. Not as grandeur as the old one. Not like the
right.
Yeah. I would love to eventually do that. That's definitely one of the pet projects that I would love to be able to do is either come up with a new design or kind of pay homage to the old design. So.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things. These things become iconic as people, visit the theater, even if it's not completely original. It's that thing that they see every time and connect with the theater. Very much like your screen tower has become, I'm sure, a calling card on social media and your merchandising, things like that. The marquee has very much been that for us. Obviously, some renovations over the years. What's your concession stand situation? Are you guys running off of pretty much the same thing they had in 49, or were you able to build up, and utilize the space a bit more?
We are a bunker style, so our concession is about row 4 or 5, half in the ground, so you can actually see, a taller person can see right over the roof of the vehicle. So Yeah, our cars parked behind and can see, of course, for those that aren't familiar. We have a very small concession area, so we put a, what do they call those, like Amish sheds? Wooden sheds. We put one of those and built it all out so that all our popcorn, drinks, candy essentially at our theater a couple years ago when the world went a little down the rabbit hole there.
Yeah.
In 2020, we actually lended ourselves very nicely to it because you stayed outside. You won't miss any of the movie at our theater, except for when you're talking to the concession person to take an order, because everything is outside, except for the bathrooms. So that added feature gave us some more room, and then we do all the physical cooking in the original spot, the bunker we call it. So we have two buildings, the cottage and the bunker for.
Oh, that's great. So people come up underneath of the new kind of built and do their ordering, and then you utilize the whole entire building as like your operating kitchen.
Yeah, the original building is used in 1/3. 1/3 is projector, 1/3 is bathrooms, 1/3 is kitchen, and it's a small building, so it's every.
We feel that pain.
Yes. Most original
people were smaller in 1949, I think.
Yes.
You tell the truth.
Yeah, I'm 6 foot and my head hits the ceiling on the building when you're walking through.
Yeah, it's weird, Our stalls in the bathroom, very much the same situation where we're like, man, they must have really had those, petite bods to be able to angle and work it in. But just like us, a classic theater works with what they got, and you guys seem to be able to have made that work. Did you move to the outdoor ordering system during the pandemic?
We moved several years before that. I don't have the
all right. So yeah, that makes sense.
18.
Mm-hmm.
So we lent ourselves really, really well. It works now well with just on a rainy nights. We'll get a lot of online orders. People don't leave their car. So
yeah, easy transition.
It was all set up. We did online ordering. We did online ticketing for your movie, which was never really popular until about 2020. Some movies it was, Avengers Endgame was before that, and I remember that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We had to stop that.
It's weird how the pandemic, it's always weird to say the pandemic was good for us, as far as a business goes. But it's weird how certain aspects have kind of caught on and been a mainstay. And definitely the case for us with the online ticketing. Now it's definitely steered in favor. And the concession situation, we did kind of a walk-up ordering scenario, but we have more of a corral line. When you enter the building, you walk down the corral, it's self-serve, where with you guys, it sounds like it's order windows prepared.
Yeah, it's made to order all the food, so the burger doesn't hit the grill until you make the order, which is challenging on the busier nights for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how convenient, though, that they can order on their phone and be able to come up and get, what do you guys do? Send like an alert when it's ready?
It's just a text. You hit a button and it texts them.
Come on. That's what I love about this business and doing this podcast is, this is a business model that is just so historic, in a lot of ways archaic, and finding those ways to use modern tools to accommodate and still be able to offer that classic appeal is really cool. I love that.
Yeah, retro vibe in the 21st century is what we try to provide here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to learn a little bit about you guys and coming into this already historic theater. I'm going to start with Craig only because he was there a little bit before you. Craig, you said 2005?
Yeah, I came in 2005, and I've been coming here as a patron since my whole life, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like you guys really have crossover because Mark was pretty much there that whole run.
Yeah, he came in as an intern with us. Yeah. And we hit it off as buddies. And gosh, I still have to look at your face. It's weird. Yeah.
It's difficult sometimes.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the previous ownership and where you were in 2005, obviously running 35 millimeter film. Were you seasoned then, or were you coming in as a total newbie then?
I had worked for a couple of different theaters. My uncle was one of the first projectionists here at this theater. So I knew coming in, I just need a little refresher because it had been a while. But yeah, man, that clicking of the gears, and the film running through, that called my name back then for sure. And I miss it terribly now that we've switched to digital. I miss the sounds in that room.
Yeah.
I don't miss
I don't miss building film, but
I don't miss being watching the sunrise on Friday mornings. But I do he and everybody on this mic knows what I'm talking about.
Everybody knows.
But I do miss the clicking and the clang.
Oh my
and
gosh,
the kids coming
yeah.
in and just being amazed at film everywhere. You know, in a good way, film. I mean,
We used to do
wow factor.
tours. Yeah, we'd have an open door policy. If a kid came up and I saw him looking in, or parents or whatever, we bring them in and give them the full tour, let them. And then most every night on the weekends, we'd let kids start the movie. They'd fire up the push the button to fire it up, and it was always just a blast.
And of course, we're showmen, so we'd give them like 15 instructions. You got to do this.
Oh yeah, it was
turn
great.
this knob, flip this, go over here, and the kids just like, it's his birthday or her birthday, and just like, oh. And then my wife would be like, just hit the green button.
Yeah.
And then hold that Brad.
Well, it sounds like, being that you said your Uncle Ren filmed there?
Yeah, my uncle was the first projectionist here. Yeah,
Come
he was
on.
here when they opened, and he worked for Mr. Stevenson, who had built the place, and they had other theaters here locally, and he worked for him and did projection work in the other theaters. So yeah, it's been in my family since the 40s. As far as my family having some connection to it.
Yeah. So you really have that growing up in booths and movie houses type of history.
Okay.
So not hard to tell where that love comes from.
No, man, you either love it or you don't, and I definitely love it. I always have. I always will. It's just
Yeah.
it's a special place for me.
That's amazing. Now, how about you, Mark? I heard Craig say coming in as an apprentice. So what's your connection with the theater? Like you said, as a fan, and then getting involved.
I'm originally born and raised in upstate New York. For those that are from New York, they know what I mean.
Ooh.
And got in the military, bounced around a little, ended up in Virginia, which we're only about 20 minutes from the Virginia line. So about an hour from here. And where I was living, there was no drive-in. This was the closest drive-in, at about an hour and 20-minute ride from where I was living.
Yeah.
And an hour and 20-minute ride to the north to the old Fort Union drive-in. And that was still operating then. So those were the two that we would go to in 2000, I'd say 6 and 7. In 2007, I started hanging around and kind of saying, hey, I want to get into the drive-in business. And helped around for a couple of years and never thought that the previous owner would sell, but he decided that it was time to move on. And he did. And right place at the right time, I guess. So 2011, my wife and I took her on a date and said, please. And from there,
Tell them the story of how you found out it was for sale.
I found out in the paper. Actually, I don't know why. I was sadly the previous owner did pass away a couple years ago,
Mhm.
and him and his wife, they actually both owned it. So I found out this was 2011. I should know that because the rest of the story you'll get in a minute here. Yeah, I found out it was in the paper. Somebody had sent me an article on my phone, and I said, what? I called. His name was Jim Kopp. I called Jim Kopp up immediately. I said, why did you not tell me this? And he said, well, they maybe misquoted me a little bit, but I'm kind of, I'm running 2 theaters and I'm stressed out. And I said, well, this was on a Wednesday. I can tell you because I was getting married on a Saturday and we were at the beach.
Wow.
Beach wedding. So at one, and if you ever get around a bunch of drive-in owners, we were just at the convention a couple of weeks ago in Florida. Conversations run long, always. So I'm on the phone talking to him, going through the details, this, that, and the other thing. And we're just talking. And eventually I look, and my wife and about 6 other people are looking at me because we've got things to do for the wedding that's 3 days from now. And I said, Jim, I'm coming home Wednesday night, following Wednesday, staying out a week. I was only just gotten at the beach, actually. And we're going to be back next Wednesday, and I'll be at the theater next Thursday. So whatever, sometime in September that was. It was 9, 10, 11, I got married. But anyway, so somewhere in mid-September, we negotiated and closed in mid-December. So that was the story on that. So, but yeah, I was getting married when I found out it was for sale.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I guess it was ultimately destined. You were able to kind of keep that run going. So were you working there at the time?
We actually were involved in another theater. And once this one became available, we kind of focused towards the Raleigh Road at that point. So, but yeah, I was going there as a customer, of course, still. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Was that an indoor you were involved in or an outdoor?
It was another drive-in up in Virginia, actually. It's not operating anymore.
Oh, awesome. I love that, you have that connection, that preservation bug in you. Was that the ultimate kind of push when you started getting involved, or was it more a lifestyle shift? Or
Well, where I moved, actually, the only reason I really got involved was where I moved up in Virginia. There was no drive-in except for this one and the one up in Fork Union, and so I actually we resurrected the old Keysville drive-in,
Yeah.
and we did that for 5 years, and then about 2/3 of the way through that 5-year adventure, this opportunity came along, so we ran two for a little while, and then we focused on Raleigh Road.
So did you have to, when you made this decision and this jump, as far as the ownership, was it a total uproot relocation, all in situation, or are you kind of in and out as far as your remote location?
When we bought this place, it was about an hour and a half travel. After a year or two of doing that, we just decided we wanted to move down here. We ended up having an opportunity to buy property down here, so we just bought our house. We live about an hour. We live about a mile and a half, 2 miles from the theater. So,
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
it's a quick little drive.
Most of our staff is coming in that distance, that's a treat for sure. So the takeover, we're talking 2011, running film. I take it you guys have always leaned into first run programming. What was business like in 2011 when you took over?
The previous owner was really good with marketing and really good with fixing up the theater. Craig was, of course, there helping, and business was good. It's a different world. I can't even imagine. I think we were, when I took it over, we were 5-2 or 6-3 for admission price, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. That was for 2 movies, and that was kind of the standard rate for most drive-ins, unless maybe if you're in the middle of a major city or something. But that was pretty much the average for everybody on that ticket price.
Back then in 2005, 6, 7, we were marketing heavily to the Raleigh-Durham market, and we started pulling in young families for first runs. So we played a lot of family fare and whatnot, PG-13 types, and they really responded to it and sort of made this place their hangout there for a good long while. We did really, really well for a long time.
It seems like that is really where you guys found the calling, and if you guys have the family support, you really can't go wrong if that's your fan base, because as you guys know, the kids love to eat, families love to come through the concession line. It really helps when you have that. And you guys have the even bigger challenge being a single screen and having to pick and choose with the decisions that you guys make and what you play on that screen.
It gets, I'm sure his booker just loves him to death because he talks to that guy all the time. They must be dear friends from the way he talks to me. So,
yeah. It is. I think it's harder now than it was even 5 years ago. It's it's just, as a single screen.
It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. It's boy, oh boy.
It's like the industry. Well, the industry's changed since COVID. I don't think anybody can argue that. COVID that year was amazing, and
For
then 21,
but for indoors, no. I mean,
well, not in indoors, but at 21, it kind of hit. You saw a decrease a little bit, but we've seen a somewhat steady decrease since then, I would say.
Yeah, and that's in a fair amount of drive-ins I've talked to, saying the same thing.
Yeah,
and we're working it. We're working it.
I mean, you got to work with what you got. That's like I say to a lot of owners is like, what is Hollywood now? What's a film schedule now? Who the hell knows? You just kind of got to work with what you got. Hope that you get those big blockbusters throughout your season to be able to give you that boost. Now, you guys are in a really unique situation, being that you're year round. Has that always been the case, or was that something you implemented?
When we bought it in 2011, it was year round. I think we ran it that first year round, and then we went to the March to November, I think, schedule for
3 years, maybe
3 or 4 years, something like that. I know. In 2018 we were open for Black Panther, so we were definitely year round then.
Yeah.
But I don't have the exact in front of you. I apologize. But
we would lose momentum.
Yeah, it was employees and it was momentum. I really couldn't look employees in the eye and say, "Hey, we'll see you in 3 months."
Yeah.
Previous owner had run it year round and was starting to build it up, and we didn't live close, so that was where it didn't make sense to us, because every weekend we were having to drive an hour and a half each way, so we kind of wanted the break too. But then so we did that 3 or 4 years, and long story short, 7-8 years now we've been year round. We're back to year round since we live close.
I love that, the idea that it really is that staple to the area no matter what. What's your guys' kind of landscape theatrically, not just for outdoors, but indoor theaters? Do people have the ready option everywhere?
We have one indoor theater about 4 miles away, and right into downtown. And then the nearest one after that would be 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Wake Forest,
Wake
North
Forest.
Carolina.
Yeah, about 30 minutes away.
Right, just
Love
outside.
Yeah, so there's one indoor. Indoors, really, I've never looked at indoors as any type of competition, I guess. I guess certainly since a single screen, if we don't have it, then their choice would be to go see if the indoor has it. But
Right.
you notice that just outdoor events is more of our competition. You know, if there's a big outdoor event at night, like
Yep.
a Monster Jam or something like that, that's more of our, I'll say air quotes, competition, where we'll see
Right.
Friday night football. That sometimes gets us. So State Fair gets us, but indoors for competition, I know that wasn't the question. I've never looked at, if anything, I've appreciated it in 2020 because Hollywood just shut down, and no matter if every drive-in was open selling out, they still were like, yeah, whatever. So we're still the redheaded
good
stepchild.
relationships with the local, people that own the theater here. So yeah, it's always been really good. They got a new owner right after COVID, and they've been great. They've been really nice to me.
Yeah, I don't know them personally, but yeah, we don't have any rival.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no. I'm more looking at the, kind of temperature of the area. Like every single owner that we talk to, depending on where they're at, some of them still are in this deep appreciation of drive-ins just because of where they are. Like their culture has continued to cherish them. Others have to work really hard to get people's attention. Do you guys feel that you guys have that strong base and following? It sounds like, the previous owners did such a great job, and you guys now have been steeped in it for so long that it naturally has that following.
Yeah, we've still got a following in the Raleigh Durham area that, I would say that's about probably 70-80% of what we do here. Locally, back when the theater back in the 80s and 70s, it became a sort of a, adult kind of place. And it didn't have the best reputation when the previous owner came in and renovated. And so we had to build that back up. And
when you say adult sort of place, do you mean like X-rated films?
Yeah, exactly.
So you guys did. So in your history, you guys dipped your toes.
They were in that stuff, man.
Yeah. For me, I love that. It's such a part of the history. It's, it shows how the culture really did shift, and people were willing to do anything, even, push that envelope.
That's what 70s and 80s.
70s and 80s,
late
yeah.
80s. I've still seen some advertising.
Late 80s, they did late night shows until just before. I think when Vito bought it, it was pretty much when that stopped. So
that's right up to the late
that
90s.
was the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, yeah, they were doing.
Yeah, it certainly has
shows.
that history there. I think I was able to. Well, the previous owner did a great job, and then we were doing church in 2020, 2021.
Oh yeah, this is the irony.
Yeah, the irony. Yeah, that was that kind of any of the old timers that remember that. We kind of got a gold star next to our name and said, "Hey, we had nothing to do with that. It just happened to be with
The Today Show came and filmed a segment about that actually during Easter.
About the church being there.
Yeah, the church during COVID.
Yeah, that's great. Come on.
So that kind of like some of the old timers that remember, that place did that. They kind of gave them, okay, well, they did church, so
they still don't come to the movies.
But old people don't tend to come to the movies.
No.
Grandparents are kids to the grand,
they bring their grands,
grandkids.
I think a big part of the drive-in success with folks that we're talking to is their ability to work with the community and offer not just the space, but the experience to the community, and for you guys doing the research that we did, it really feels like you guys have a safe family space, no nonsense space where people can come in and really love and appreciate it.
We run a tight ship when it comes to, making sure it stays family friendly. And Mark and his wife, they produce 3 pretty awesome little men. And it's a place where this is their reward for doing good all week. If they do bad, their punishment is they can't come to the drive-in. So
he's talking about my little kids. Yeah, I got to do good. I get to hang out with Uncle Craig.
Exactly. I'm more of a babysitter than projectionist these days.
How old are your munchkins?
What do we got? We got 4, 6, and 9.
Yep. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I got a 6-year-old now, and the treat is really seeing him grow up on the lot and experiencing it through his eyes. I say it all the time on the podcast. I have this sense of jealousy that I cannot help. I'm just like, he doesn't know how good he's got it.
Actually, what we talk about here all the time, how awesome they have it, how awesome their childhood's going to be. Yeah.
Ah, it's too cool. I love it. It's a family affair.
We talk to employees when I'm interviewing them. I'm like, what do you? Your first job could be to drive it.
Oh, Virgil can't wait until he's old enough to pump the butter. It's like, my daughter as well now is 19, so she's gone through the whole growth of pumping butter, working in the concession stand, doing her thing. It's beautiful.
We got built-in labor coming up.
Yeah, we do.
Well, before I turn it over to Jeff and Mark for some questions, we got to talk about the changeover from 35 to digital, how that affected you guys. Did you have to, I take it, fully invest in a whole new system? How did that whole story go down?
I guess September of 2014, we just were having trouble getting new movies. So we decided, that was the month that we switched over.
Yeah.
It was scary because it's just a big payment. We couldn't write a check that big, or we didn't want to write a check that big either. So
right.
The used equipment now is out there, so I don't feel, as bad if it completely melted down. We still have the 35 millimeter and the platters. What do we got? A Century SA. We got a Century, the other one, Century C. So if I really got it, I can go back in about a day. We're still
get out of here. So is it in place, or you're saying you could move it in?
Yeah. The new projector is sitting where the platters were, and the old projector still sits there. And it's actually my wife, ironically, who was happy to go to digital for the reasons of convenience, of course. And she's like, no, don't move that. That sits there. So the Century still sits there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And down the road, one of those pet projects, I would like to go reel to reel, just because we can't put the platters back because of the new projector sits there.
Space, yeah.
So we probably could go to reel if we got creative, because we got low ceilings. But, I'd like to try to go to reel to reel eventually. I talked to a couple people about it. So,
well, you get that dividend ceiling, you'll be fine.
Yeah, we're good like that. So it was just scary with the payment. Picture quality, Virgin film still looks better than digital, in my opinion, on a correctly run machine. But, we've had some scary moments with film doing it for, so you kind of, especially we run it, I guess we'll say lean. So, we sometimes on a hot, humid night, if you walked away from the platters, sometimes you
oh yeah.
The
rain wrap and the panic.
Man. So that didn't happen a lot, but it's certainly 2 or 3 times a year. It seemed like we struggled, and it was like
it happened more with the previous owner, and he would panic, and it was entertaining. So
yeah, I had a couple panics. I ain't gonna lie.
No, you had some panics, but not to that level. Yeah.
I remember greasing the machine up for Memorial Day weekend, getting all ready. 2 little drops of oil.
2 little drops of oil.
Hit the sound. Was it the heavy reel? And all weekend blended had this odd sound at it. It finally wore out, but where this little bit of oil had worn off. But I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed.
That was like a mystery. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So the sound was always just a little high pitched because it was spinning on the wheel a little. So
yeah,
I'm expert with that stuff. But certainly, you give me 2 gears and some string and a bubble gum, and I probably could get a 35 millimeter back up and going for the night. But these digitals are a little scary. Over the years, we've gotten some spare parts. So as long as something doesn't, really go crazy, there's a couple things I can do to at least try to save the show. And luckily, knock on wood, we haven't actually lost a lot of shows we did.
No.
I'm knocking on wood because we got Bob Marley this weekend.
I don't
have a problem.
I don't want to do that.
Again, another challenge as a single screener. It's like, a lot of places have that option where it's like, okay, if we have issues, so we can still make it work for the night as a single screener. You got an issue with your projector, you're down,
Yeah, you lose the night, when you got a 2 and 3 screen drive-in, or in the indoor theaters, you lose 1 screen, at least you got 2 more going, so you're not, you're bummed, but you're not, down and out. Everybody's going home early.
Yeah, you can move your movie to another room.
The next day you can move your big movie, and stuff like that. At least kind of. That is a challenge. We call it the single screen blues over here. So.
And Craig, for you, I'm really curious.
Yeah.
People ask us all the time, and it's kind of in our lore, the appreciation and workmanship of a projectionist and a 35 millimeter theater versus the quote unquote digital age of things where it's very much programmed. It doesn't need a person to physically be working with it the entire time.
Right.
What is your experience as somebody who has truly gone through that shift of working mechanically to a lot of things being digital?
I'm probably in the minority as far as people who have done that in the past. I actually like the digital product. I like the convenience of it. I like the quality that goes up on the screen. I love that after 10 shows, you've got an amazing picture up on the screen still. I love that we have more avenues to do content up on the screen, like, video content that's local. We can do our own announcements and that kind of thing. That's stuff that I'm passionate about. So even though I'm not doing the 35 millimeter and building film and sort of babysitting the projector all night, I still have my arms knee deep in stuff that keep me engaged still. And most of that work I get to do offsite. So when I'm on site, I'm either hosting or doing ticket booth or other things now. And like I said, I am a glorified babysitter. I do hang out with the kids a lot and they walk a lot with me. I do lot work a lot. And so it's just a different, it's a different way of looking at it, but I look at it as a positive. I try to live in that positive space. And the only thing I really miss, like I said, is just going in that booth and hearing those gears turn and that sound from that booth. I miss that terribly. But other than that, double thumbs up for digital. I think it's been a really good thing for us.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, the push of 35 millimeter for us has been kind of a stance as far as the format, but the industry growing into digital, like, it makes all the sense in the world, and being able to manage that makes it so much more doable,
Well, yeah, you can focus on other things because once, you load your movies and you go, you're pretty much done. You hit program it and you're done. And that thing will fire on, at the right moment and do its thing. And you don't have to sit there and babysit it all night, and you could be doing other things. And that's great. But man, I will say, you guys doing 35 millimeter, that's just so awesome that people can come there. They know what they're going to get. They're going to get an amazing experience. And I kudos to you guys for still keeping that going. You very much respect what you're doing there.
Thank you very much. When I first started there, I was just the manager projectionist before I took over the business. And I sat there one night at my desk, we have a very large booth for a drive-in theater. We have a very large booth. My desk is in there. Everything is in there. I was sitting at my desk and looking around one night while the projector's running. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to ruin this. I'm just not going to, because it looks like 1949 inside my booth. And I'm like, I'm not going to ruin this. I thought, of course, we have xenon bulbs. We don't have the carbon arcs anymore. But except for that, it's pretty much the original. And I was just not going to ruin that. So I appreciate the compliment, because I really had a decision to make at one point. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to try running old films first. And if that doesn't work, then maybe I'll have to go digital. But I wasn't going to ruin that.
Well, kudos to you.
In fact, I have a question for you.
Yep.
If you wanted to do reel to reel, do you have enough space in your booth for a whole nother projector besides the one that's there and the digital? You've got room for another one?
We wouldn't have room for the a second one. We would have to really, really rearrange to do that.
Yeah.
Reel to reel is
it can be done uncomfortably.
Yeah, it can be done uncomfortably. But what I meant is I'm not tech savvy because I never used them. We were just platters, but they do have the reels where you can put the whole movie on one reel, which I know. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of when I was saying reel, to be able to do it. But we could play a 20-minute reel, which certainly, and I've never done it yet.
Cartoons on it,
but partly we don't do it because the electric that's going to the digital was the one going to the other projector. So we'd either have to find more electric, because we're, again, going back to our original part of this podcast. We're a 1940 drive-in, and electricity is at a premium at our drive-in. We are
that's the truth.
Maxed out right to the edge. So we couldn't put another projector.
You couldn't put a blender on that house.
Yeah, couldn't put it in. Yeah, we don't have enough to run old projector and the new projector at the same time or in the same. So yeah, that's the reason why it just sits there right now. I'd love to be able to run a 20-minute, intermission on 35 millimeter. We have it all still sitting in storage, but the film.
No, I understand. You guys would have to do some extensive rewiring, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, our main wire coming into that building is 300 feet away. All our power comes from where we're sitting right now, from the tower. From we call the our screen the tower. So others have different names for it. So from the tower, it's about 200 or 300 feet. We'd have to run wire out there. So now all of a sudden it gets pretty pricey to be able to.
Oh yeah.
You guys have the same setup practically as us. We got the powerhouse right underneath the screen.
Yeah, that's what we call ours, is the powerhouse. Yeah, and it's right underneath the screen.
Love it.
Yep, that's where ours come in. If you look real close on any of our pictures, you'll see the 4 wires kind of going right into the left-hand side.
Yeah,
where it comes in. We have 600 amp there, but that's just that's not how much is going to the bunker building in the middle of the property. We're max. So that's a little technical stuff, but that's you got to outweigh. You got to kind of which passion project do you want to do? Do you want to run $10,000 worth of electricity to or $8,000? To run 30
shoes. Yeah. Any other questions for the guys, Jeff?
No, that was about it. I was just curious. You hit all the other stuff that I was going to ask them. So no, I was just curious about because they had talked about running reels. But yeah, if they could get the big reel system where the whole film is on one like 24,000 foot reel, I think that would be fantastic. But yeah, they'd have to do some rewiring. That's understandable.
How about you, Mark? Any questions for the boys?
Oh boy, do I ever!
Well, go.
I will. So first of all, I noticed on your website that you offer through an app the ability for people to hear films in Spanish. I've never heard about that. How does that work?
We've had that since the original It, I think. Mm-hmm. And we don't personally use it a lot. And it's not just Spanish, it's other languages. I think it's Mandarin and a couple others. It's whatever they offer. It's
that's fantastic. So it's whatever's encoded with the DCP and the customer can just dial up whatever language.
Oh, this is even totally different. It's a separate, so it's going to take about a minute to explain. It's completely customer driven. I'm going to use Spanish as the language. If the customer comes into our theater, speaks Spanish, and it's available. Not every movie gets this treatment. I think Bob Marley got it. We're playing that this weekend. But I know It got it. That's really the last time I checked it to make sure it was working right. It's more for indoor theaters, but it will work at a drive-in just the same. The customer has to have a smartphone, the internet, has to download the Theater Ears app, has to download the audio file that they're looking to play. So I'm using the example It. I know that came out a while ago. Boy, that was a good movie in our theater. They came out for that movie. So they download It, the audio file, and it just sits there, and it won't work until you're physically at the theater because it's geo-tracked. When you get to the theater, you have to have, here's the second part, there's a couple things you have to do. You have to do all that, and then once you do this once and you're a customer, you know how to do it. You have to have wired headphones, and that's more for the indoor theater, but it will only work I use iPhones, if your iPhone is physically connected by wire to the headphones. So your iPhone physically wired to headphones, can't be Bluetooth. And then you hit a button. I don't speak Spanish, but it was working.
Yeah.
You hit a button, and when the movie starts, whatever noise that the beginning of the movie has, the intro, Universal's intro, Warner Brothers intro, whatever the intro is, it starts syncing up. It doesn't take that long. And then all of a sudden, when they're speaking English on the screen, which of course I understand, in my headphones, wired, of course, because if you're in an indoor theater, that's how it would need to work. It's speaking Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but it is lined up right. I'll tell you right.
Oh, that's amazing because as we all tell people that people who try to use a phone app to tune in your radio station at the drive-in, it doesn't work because it doesn't stay in sync. So that's ingenious that they have actually downloaded the entire alternate soundtrack to the film to their device, and that it stays in sync the whole time.
It stays in sync, but it's only the word portion.
Just the dialogue.
The dialogue. So if you were to just listen to it it would stop working when the movie stopped because it wouldn't know where it was at. But yeah, it's just somebody speaking or several people speaking in Spanish or Mandarin or French.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not every movie gets that treatment, but all the big ones seem to get it. So yeah, it's just the dialogue, and they're physically, I guess it's a Hollywood thing. They're letting them do it, but they're physically, and I guess the copyright's always a big thing. You know how that is. They allow the customer to download the dialogue, I guess, the physical word spoke of the movie onto their phone. So they actually have it, but it'll only work when you're physically at a theater.
That is too cool.
Yeah, it's
future. We're there.
Yeah, not too many people that I know use it. I'm sure some are using it. We advertise it a little bit, but we don't. We just have it on our website, and then we have it I need to get a newer version, but we were playing it, of course, before the movie. It was one of those trailers. If you speak Spanish or something.
Yeah, Mark will tell you. We just did an interview with a theater in Canada who has a huge French-speaking audience. Imagine how beneficial it would be for them. They'd be able to pull their French and or have the choice. I guess customer would have the choice.
They have to do separate showings. Just the way their setup is they've said they'd love to do an alternate track that you could dial in on a different frequency, but they just have to have the English version. For them, English is the minority language. So they do their weeknight Thursday show of the English version of the Marvels or whatever, and then the weekend it's in French.
I just was talking to a drive-in owner in Canada. First name was Bob, and he was talking to me about the challenge with that. And I kind of introduced him to theater. It was about 3 weeks ago at the convention, the drive-in convention. So yeah, it's certainly, I don't think it's utilized as much. They were out to our convention a couple times, but it's certainly technology in a way that, could help, because when we were 35 millimeter, we're certainly boxed in on what we could do.
Yeah.
Just by the audio tracks.
Yeah, people have asked us about that, if we could do closed captions or alternate audio, and it's just like we're dealing with a 40-year-old film print. It doesn't have, it's got a picture and sound, and that's about it.
And that's what Craig was saying before. I miss that part of it, but it does. The newer technology does lend itself to some of that stuff. I certainly like it. I do know that when the movies come in, open caption is a big thing, and then we could easily play that if we wanted to. And then sometimes we'll get a Spanish version. I've played it once by accident. I think it's called LAS in the little descriptor. So if you I don't know what that means, but if you do LAS, it's the Spanish version of that movie. So
yeah, one of our local drive-ins does an open caption night regularly, and I've heard of a couple others that do that. They just do like a Wednesday night, a night that wouldn't be one of their prime nights, but it's really nice for people who need that or who would like that.
It's something as we've considered, and it goes back to the single screen blues a little bit of you can only do so much with single screen. It's certainly something we consider. I've looked into it before.
Now, being year round, do you see times of the year where attendance overall ebbs and flows, or is it more dependent upon just what movies you're showing?
It is 100% what movies we're showing.
Yep.
It is a little bit weather related. If we're playing in a solid, I won't say a blockbuster, but a solid movie. I don't want to give titles because I call them out. But if we're playing a decent movie in February, we can have 70-degree weather. We'll see an uptick just from the weather. People just itching, kind of getting out. For as long as we're
last weekend,
yeah, we got a little bit of an uptick. Nothing crazy, but a little bit. It seems like people.
There's definitely more people here.
Yeah, a little bit more people here, but yeah, mostly the movies. And that's where struggle's not the right word, but that's where we're really scratching our heads right now, because they know we're here. Our attendance has been down for just a little while.
Yeah,
and we could talk about streaming, but we don't have that much time. But our attendance has been floundering a little bit. But then you do a movie like Wakanda, and all of a sudden we've got full field 2 shows in a row.
Yeah.
When the sun goes down earlier, we are open year round. We'll try to run a 6 o'clock and a 9 o'clock show. And that's the kind of the nice thing about being open in November, December, January. The time's going to move here in a couple of weeks.
So when you have a hit like that, would you make it a single feature program and do 2 shows, or would you do a double feature twice?
I was tinkering.
As the owner,
he's like, you were tinkering. And Wakanda was big for us, and that first weekend, we rocked at the first show, we rocked at the second show, so we double show. I don't know what they actually officially call that. Sometimes we'll do that where it's 6 o'clock movie, 9 o'clock movie is the same movie if it's a blockbuster in the wintertime. And then part of the winter this year, I tried something a little different, and that I know it's called show and a half in the industry, and that's where we were playing. What did you do? Let's give an example. We did Trolls. We did Trolls, then we did Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
And then we did It's a Wonderful Knife. Now that's just a traditional triple feature. But then we did Thanksgiving first feature, It's a Wonderful Knife second feature, and then Thanksgiving again as a third feature.
Right. Oh yeah, ABA.
Yeah. Show and a half is what I was kind of.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's worked when you got non-kids movies. If you got 2 adult movies or 2 PG-13R movies, that works. It's a big movie. Thanksgiving certainly was had a cult following from the beginning. That was a movie. So
hell yeah, drive-in fair. You gotta love when a drive-in title's released now.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, who doesn't want to see that at the drive-in, right?
Yeah, we've built up a little bit of a horror crowd too. So
for sure,
that's the single screen blues. Because now I got to tell my horror crowd audience, hey, we're playing kids movies for 2 weeks. See you later.
Yeah.
And we got to play for everybody. So this weekend's Bob Marley. So we've got Mean Girls of Bob Marley.
Yep.
I would call that train wreck booking, and I do that too. I got to get that before the podcast ends, because my wife's like, "You're playing a kids movie, and then you're playing Thanksgiving, huh? Yeah, that's what you're doing, huh?"
Oh,
I'm like, "Yeah, two totally different movies, two totally different audiences."
When I was a kid, the theaters would do that, and the idea would be that like maybe the kids would be asleep by the time that second movie hit the screen.
Yeah,
because we do a lot of doubles. I always joke about the one we did. We did, in theory, a great double feature, which was Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Two great classic Dick Van Dyke movies. Two great classic movies that had to start at 9 p.m. and were each 2.5 hours long. So by the time that second 2.5 hour movie started at like midnight,
everyone was.
There's no kids who are awake.
Right. Yeah, that is the good thing. And then we still see the kids in the pajamas and the parents coming out.
All the time. I love that.
Speaking of new releases, I saw that you ran the Taylor Swift concert film, which was this really big, interesting experiment. So for that film, it was a higher ticket price, a mandated higher ticket price than normal, and you had to keep it for X number of weeks. How did that do to you over the course of its run?
For the beginning of the run, it was, I mean, they were coming out in droves. It was really nice. We had great turnouts. And then, of course, it slowed, in the last 2 weeks of it, I'd say.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks were busy. And then the second 2 weeks, I did it differently. I played Taylor Swift. That came out on Friday the 13th, October. And I cleared the field. So we did Taylor Swift. And, and we're learning from you guys, actually. Events is what's going to make drive-ins survive. Any drive-in, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And so we made it an event. Craig got involved. He loves doing that type of stuff. We had black lights and glow products. And
we brought in a full light show.
Yep. We do have speakers. We got some Bose L1s that we were cranking. So they could go out in front of the first row of cars. There's a fence there. And then there's a big grassy area. You can play baseball in that field.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And so they were out there, and those teenage girls rocked it for 2 weeks, and they just
hell yeah.
Saturday night is one of my treasured memories here. It really is one of my favorite memories because those kids were all in, and it sounded and felt like an actual concert. Absolutely amazing.
Really did. My wife Jennifer, she's like, that's really good production value, because we're of course busy, so we're cooking, doing all this stuff. If you were standing in the first row of an indoor theater or at the drive-in, real up close to the screen, you were actually at that concert. She did a good job production wise, and the sound was awesome.
That sound is the best live concert mix I've ever heard.
So you got a great experience. Now, of course, the price was mandated, so we had no control over that. But being at the higher price, we were busy. Yay for us, It worked out.
Still far more affordable than a ticket to see a live show. And
I would say
I was equating this to Friends, the movie Elvis on Tour, which was made in the early 70s. That was made to go to all the places he couldn't go physically to tour. So Elvis came to your small town. So in this case, Taylor Swift is coming to, most theaters in the US for people who could never get out to a concert. And that's great. I mean, I think kind of everybody wins in that category.
I also hedged my bet, though. I didn't know how it was going to go. So on Friday the 13th, we cleared the field at 9:45 and at 10:30. Friday the 13th, the movie started. And
excellent.
I forget what the other movie was that night. Oh, remind me here.
Did we play?
Anyway, we played two horror movies, and then the next week we played like It Chapter 1, It Chapter 2.
Yeah, we played.
And then the week after we played. You're putting me on the spot. I can't remember, but we just played horror movies after Taylor Swift, and
they showed up.
Have your cake and eat it too. That's the move.
And the horror crowd's a later crowd, so we were like, what if this Taylor Swift thing doesn't work out? I'm still appeasing my horror crowd. I won't say appeasing. I'm still satisfying, my horror crowd fans, because they're able to see at the drive-in Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th, which just happened to be the opening night of Taylor Swift. So we were rocking and rolling right up till midnight.
And we found the horror crowd to be the most loyal audience for any genre. Almost anything horror is, granted, we're playing classics that people already know and love, but granted, just about anything horror will be solid. Every other genre tends to be a little bit more of a gamble.
I would 100% agree. There's certain non-horror movies that we can play every year. Grease, Willy Wonka, certain
Jaws, E.T.
Jaws and E.T.
Jurassic Park
every year. But horror crowds, if you you play the hits with the horrors, of course you're going to get a big crowd. But even if you don't, you can still get the passionate people.
Mm-hmm.
But if we played Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street every single October, and we're boring about it, just every October, that's all we did, we would do quite well.
I agree.
But I like to, delve. I like to get into, we did an anthology weekend. We do a camping weekend in September. I'm already working on it. There's Beetlejuice is the new movie that time of frame. And then September has a Friday the 13th. So, of course, you know what we're playing in September this year, probably at least. But this year, right around, I think it was September 16th, whatever the camping event. We have a camping event Friday and Saturday that weekend every year. Usually second or third weekend of September is when we try to plan it. And we did an anthology. So we did Creep Show, Twilight Zone.
My man.
There's Scary Stories, It's All in the Dark.
Was it Night of the Living Dead?
Well, those were all the anthology ones. And then we did play a couple, because you can only get so many of those. We played like Critters.
Oh, yeah, Critters.
Stuff like and yeah, so you get the real passionate horror people out there then when you play that stuff. And then every year we play Night of the Living Dead.
Every year.
Awesome.
It dependable. Nobody's going to get tired of that, especially when you get around October. People who are not really horror people are more open to the idea of just going out to see a horror movie for fun.
That one usually plays at like 3 a.m. too. There.
Oh, nice. There's nothing quite like being on a very quiet drive-in lot in the wee hours with something really weird, bizarre, and scary on the big screen, especially when you're rural like you guys are. You're drawn into the movie that much more.
I'll tell you what, I have freaked myself out because we've done this like 6 years in a row. We've done this camping event. Yeah. It's not been forever, but every year we call it the 13th annual horathon or something. This year it'll be called the 13th annual horathon. We keep the same thing going. But I have played trailers, digitally, you kind of just put that stuff in there. And I've played trailers. I was playing trailer for like the original Friday the 13th or I don't know, Hellraiser or something like that. And there I am on this quiet field, just like you were describing, all by myself at midnight, trying to get this, making it look good on the screen. And I'm like, I'm ready to go now.
The woods are looking at you. You're like,
I don't scare easily. I mean, I'm not really. And I'm like,
time to go home.
Looking around this big field, I'm like, I got the goosebumps here. So you gotta love what you do,
I wanted to also ask about the flea market, a proud drive-in tradition. How do those work out for you? It looks like you have those March through October every year.
We do. We're trying to do March through December if it works out. That is something we just started 2021, something like that. It starts out strong, and then it's so hot in North Carolina, it peters out a little, and then right around September, fall, it starts again. We're still trying to figure that out. I'm gonna be honest with you, but we are going to stick with that. It's going to start March 23rd. I think I got the date for that. The opening weekend of Ghostbusters. We're just going to be tired and then getting up early. Doing a flea market, but yeah, it's a staple. We don't get hundreds of vendors, but we can get 30-40 vendors here, and we're still trying to figure that out. With Facebook Marketplace, I'm almost trying to kind of get the Facebook Marketplace to say, hey, come out here and make it a meeting spot. So we're just trying to figure out, in the new world of what we live in, how is a traditional old school 1970s flea market going to work, with the new technology and stuff like that. So it's something we're doing. It'll start in about, 3 weeks from now, a month from now. Yeah. We do that. We have fun with it. And,
do you have the concession stand open for that?
I don't right now. Partly it's a staffing thing. So I do try to bring food trucks out when we can, but it's tough, especially on a good busy night, like a Ghostbusters I'm hoping is the busy night, or Taylor Swift even, to look at the staff and be like, hey, can 2 people come in here at 6 a.m?
Yeah, no kidding.
But we've talked to other drive-in owners who do the flea markets, and I think the other 2 we talked to that I recall had a separate staff or a separate even organization that dealt with the flea markets, because they had people like rolling in at 4 a.m. to set up and insane stuff like that. And it's just, we know how late a night goes at a drive-in with a double feature, especially in the summertime. And it is hard to manage your staff. You want to just work 24 hours this weekend? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's not okay.
That's not okay. I'll stay up 30 hours straight. I will. And it's just a labor law.
We do stay up.
I don't want to say 30 hours. Craig will let me go home sometimes, take a nap, but I'll come back in the late breakfast time. But I do need to get a separate staff for that. As you just mentioned here, since we just started the flea market a couple of years ago, I didn't want to dedicate a whole separate staff to it, but it is, as it builds up, I was planning on probably getting about 2 staff for that, and then figure out the kitchen part. So, because we're all set up to do breakfast, it's just a matter of, we kind of run thin, especially as the summer and spring, summer, and fall, we run thin, get tired. So I didn't want to burn ourselves out by adding another thing.
Speaking of the snack bar, this is the rare occasion that we record the show and I've eaten just before we do it, because usually we get to the point of the show where we talk about the food that the drive-in serves, and I'm just like going out of my mind with how good it sounds and how hungry I am. What would you say the big sellers are in your snack bar, and any unique items that you may offer?
This goes depends on what time of the night you're at. You start out
Fair true.
Yeah, you start out with usually you start out, of course, soda, Gatorade, whatever you're drinking, and most people go with the Wow Burger.
Wow Burger.
Yeah, that tastes pretty good. It's our own special, thing that we got going on. My wife is the cook, and she's got a couple of helpers, but she's really the main person. And we've got a steak and a chicken sandwich. Those are the two things. The kids like the chicken. You can call them chicken nuggets. We call them chicken chunks. The same thing.
Funnel cake fries are probably the biggest.
I was just gonna say. Now you get to intermission though. The funnel cake fries, the fryer gets backed up a little.
Oh yeah,
because that's the treat. So just
funnel cake fries.
Yeah, they're actually easier to eat in the car. So they're just like a French fry, but they taste just like funnel cakes. So, we've had them
man, you top them with like the powdered sugar and all.
Yeah, it's a French fry version of a big old funnel cake.
Stop it! Solid gold. Who's not getting that?
Yep, we got that, and then we've got the Oreo churros, which
Oreo churros are big
flavor. And then we just ordered 2 weeks ago. Did you have them yet?
I haven't tried them yet.
The
cream cheese
one. Yeah, and that's pretty good. That's with cinnamon in it instead of powdered sugar.
I smelled it, but I didn't eat. I didn't eat.
I don't eat them much. I'm not a super sweet person. You know that.
I know,
but,
me either.
Yeah, but I have tried them, and they're really good.
The French fries here are like fresh cut too, and that's a labor of love. I know Mark's looking at me with that disgusted look, like I have to cut fries and.
That's a potato.
That's a staple of the drive-in, baby. Take that extra step.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we really get a lot of compliments on is our fries and our Wow Burger. Those are probably the big thing
for standard food. Yeah, and their potatoes about 4 hours before 6 hours before you get to the theater. We cut them up, we freeze them, fry them.
Labor intensive, but it's worth it. I'd say
labor intensive. It is.
Yeah,
but it's okay. It's
you guys do a bloomin' onion too, right?
I don't know if we call that's just that's something.
They're onion petals.
Yeah, onion petals. We do get them.
I was surprised to see that you have a side salad on your menu. Most drive-ins, I've talked to other drive-in owners who are friends, and they said that they have requests for salad, but they don't do it because if you don't utilize the material on the night, you wind up throwing a lot away. How does the salad work out for you?
Everything's made fresh. So for the burgers, we already got lettuce, tomato. We do get cucumbers, so we just grab a couple cucumbers for the week.
Carrots.
Croutons, they last for a while. So
onion and green pepper usually go on mine.
So we don't really have anything to add to it. It's everything we already have. My wife sits there and makes it takes 45 seconds and makes up a salad from all the stuff we already have here. And then and that's just
popular with the staff.
It is popular. Yeah, we need it.
Oh God, exactly. I wish it was an option for us. It's like
we found that people think of the drive-in, you think of fried foods and burgers and things like that. And we were doing a wrestling show once, which we still do every year. And the wrestlers requested vegetarian or vegan items. And we started carrying those, and they've been really popular. And we get so many people thanking us for offering the vegan. It's not that it's a lot, but the vegan items really do well. So a salad is great.
Yeah, salad. We have the veggie burger.
We do have the black bean burger.
That's vegan. I think that's vegan.
It is
not
vegan.
100% sure. And that tastes good. I'll be honest. I would take that over, not over a burger, but it just.
No, I wouldn't go that far, but it's pretty good.
No, it's really good. We've been selling that for 10 years, but
I don't mind
something like that. But yeah, so we just a couple things, because people with special diets, they're not looking for a whole 4-page menu, but as long as they got a couple things they can hit on. My wife doesn't do seafood too often, so we go to a seafood place, she can at least get chicken or something. So we kind of reciprocate on that. All right, well, we can give you a couple things here. We got a couple things on the menu that.
Oh, it's the same with us, and people just appreciate having the option and not coming to yet another place where they look at the menu and say, there's nothing for me here. So it's a little goes a long way with that.
Yeah, and we actually like the taste of the veggie burger. I have the veggie burger probably once every other month. It's got a good taste to it. So as much as I know some people, the meat eaters, are like rolling their eyes, but no, it's actually just plain old tastes good. So
that's where it's at with me. If it tastes good, I really don't mind at all, as long as it's worse for me. 2 more questions of the frivolous nature. I love that on your FAQ there is a question about matinees. That is a long-running internal joke with us. Do you guys do matinees at your place? The other thing too was your company name. Is Silly Place Entertainment a Python reference?
That's Craig the projectionist laughing.
Go ahead.
I was running another drive-in in the middle of nowhere, and I hired this girl named Jennifer, young lady named Jennifer. And we sat at the picnic table after the movies were over. Maybe we'd have a Coors Light or something. And we couldn't tell you to this day who said it first, her or I, but a Monty Python reference was made. You laughed or I laughed because I don't know which one said it first. She could tell you. Maybe she knows better than me. Everybody at the table didn't get it. Just looked at each other. 4 months later, 4 months later, we were dating. 2 years later, we were married.
The one.
He's at home with the kids now. I'm doing a podcast.
It is.
Excellent.
And so since then, that was first, second, third date. We just got the DVD of Monty Python. Yes, so you picked up on that, and yes, 100%. Hands down, the best movie. We do play it here. It's in the machine right now. We book it, of course, but we have it.
It never goes anywhere. I love that.
We ran it once a couple of years ago, and whoever the licensing company is now sent us a whole bunch of like coconuts on strings for us to hand out.
Yep. Same here. Yeah.
They're the best. Yeah.
Showmanship.
Oh, we had the best time with that crowd too.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
I'll tell you a quick story. Eventually we'll wrap it up here. Of course, we're having fun, but it was May of 2020. The world was going crazy. I don't want to go down that road part. That's not part of the story. But we opened back up on May 1st, 2020.
Yeah.
Somewhere around Memorial Day weekend or weekend before or after, I don't know which. We played, was it Spaceballs, an airplane, or Monty Python, an airplane?
Monty Python, an airplane.
It was Monty Python.
Yeah.
It was. I'm sure they all run together after a while.
Yep, I remember clearly.
And yeah, I remember clearly too. There was a guy I'm getting a little emotional talk about it. There was a guy on the first row. If anybody's seen the movie Airplane, you know every laugh track on it. You know where to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a scary little point, maybe, in the world, and we all didn't know what we were doing. Should we be doing this, whatever? And there was a guy in the front row that the whole drive-in could hear him laughing.
Yep.
And it's not being made up.
Nope.
I don't know if his voice was echoing off the screen and coming back. And we just let it play, the movie. I enjoy that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. Of course, Monty Python, obviously, from the Silly Place reference. And when we got on the mic, I had trouble talking on the mic. I said, thank you to the gentleman in the first row.
Absolutely.
With the big old laugh.
This whole theater has heard you laugh, and we need it. And it was just horn hogs for like a
it was.
And it was just a moment. It's just, you have those moments at the drive-in, and that was awesome. So I happened to be with Monty Python, but it was I thought it was Airplane. I know it was Airplane, excuse me.
It was Airplane.
But I know that the co-feature was either Spaceballs or Monty Python.
It was just pure joy. It really was joy.
So we also like Airplane. Now my wife's a little less on the Airplane than me, but she does laugh. So yeah, Monty Python, Holy Grail. It is definitely got me a wife and 3 kids. Two coconuts banging together.
That's right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's the magic of the drive-in, and it was, heightened so much when the world was robbed of its social time and its community, and to have a place to go and celebrate together as a community and laugh together as a community. Like, I'll tell you a quick story. We did a David Lynch event right as, the pandemic, we had reopened, and we had a band come out and play some David Lynch tunes, and people were weeping just because it had been months since they'd heard a guitar play or somebody, perform live in front of them. And it really hammers it home the importance of what we all do to offer this to the community. And you guys clearly are 2 guys who have given your life over to the theatrical experience, and even better, given your life over to preserving the drive-in culture. And we're in this fight together, and know that this revival is strong. And as the generations come in, that appeal to go back to the drive-in is only going to get stronger. So
amen, brother.
We appreciate you guys so much for everything that you're doing, and keep rocking it and rolling it. Oh, why don't we give people the opportunity to support you on social media or visit you on the website?
Website's RaleighRoadDrive-In.com. Pretty easy. You can search Raleigh Road. Usually we come up pretty quick on Google.
Yep.
So that's not a problem. We've got the Facebook. I don't know the names to all of them, but you search Raleigh Road.
Search Raleigh Road Outdoor Theatre.
Any of the search engines, Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram.
Yeah, we follow you on all of them for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know we have Twitter and TikTok, but I don't think we're really active on that. But hey, maybe we'll get on it. But for our social media, it's Instagram, Facebook, and our website. Are three that we do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take a follow. We'll welcome you with open arms.
Yeah.
Well, we personally, being that you guys are a year-round theater, it actually puts it on our radar where we could actually come and visit you guys, hang out and eat some Oreo churros, and rock it. Get a tour of the screen tower.
We're here right now with heaters on.
You're more than welcome anytime, guaranteed.
Yeah.
We're going to make it happen. And everybody out there listening, especially those that travel into the Mahoning, make a point to stop by and give some love to the boys over there. Thank you guys so much for all you do. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it immensely.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theatre. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night, and God bless you.